when it's time to heal and feel, be real. You just gotta take your time, unwind and chill. Cause now it's time to love yourself. Build emotional and mental health. Cause Black woman, it's time to heal and feel, be real.
Hey y'all, we're back with another episode of Black Women Healing Podcast. But before we even jump in, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things to keep the podcast rolling. As usual, today we have a special guest, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Jen. Dr. Jen is a sports geographer, tech founder, TEDx speaker, and sought-after speaker and educator. She owns Gen5 Talks, an organizational change firm that sits at the intersection of conflict and culture. It specializes in transforming organizational dynamics by addressing how conflict and culture shape leadership and overall business outcomes. Gen5 Talks works with leaders and teams to navigate and resolve conflicts that arise from differences, promoting an environment where diverse perspectives are harnessed as a source of innovation and growth. She received her PhD in sports geography from Michigan State University. Go Green! She just released her book entitled I Said No: How to Have a Backbone and Boundaries Without Being a Jerk. Okay. Well, before we jump into all things Jen, let's first hear from Donika with one of our icebreakers.
Okay. So I just had a brilliant idea. So
Okay.
before so Jen, we used to do a this or that for our icebreaker. And so now we're playing with this like forum of reading questions if people send them. We don't have any yet. But these episodes haven't been released for us to get
Okay.
questions. But we've been using like a Reddit forum. Um, Before I go to the Reddit forum, though, is there anything that you or Myra or myself, is there a questioning that you have? This could be about anything, mental wellness, mental health, just any thoughts, any questions that we can discuss. We can be of help to each other.
Y'all go first.
I'm
I'll
curious
sing
since
back
y'all
up.
are, so mine's is not related to anything mental health. It's actually like a hair question. Something that I struggle with is when I am wearing my hair out naturally, I never know what to do with it at night that is efficient for my time. So I'm curious, Danica, I've seen you wear your puffs out. Dr. Jen, I see you have your hair out. What are some effective ways to take care of your hair at night? Because I've gone with just my afro, but then when I wake up, it's like hell trying to do something with my hair, comb it out, fluff it out. Any quick tips?
I'm a really horrible person to ask because one of my best friends, he gets mad at me because I don't do anything. I just go to sleep like this. I might sometimes have a ponytail, but in the morning, I'll wet it, put product on it, and blow dry it upside down. So I am a really horrible person. Like Marlon be yelling at me all the time. I don't wear bonnets. I don't do nothing. So I just wake up, I'll wet it, put product, I blow dry it upside down. I do this little razzle dazzle, and that's it.
Well,
Yeah, that would definitely not work for me. I got
Yeah,
4C
That's what I
hair. That
said.
would
Don't
not
ask me.
work.
I'm the worst
I
person to
wish.
ask. Horrible.
yeah, no, I think for me, my hair is like it's different textures in different sections. Fair enough. But if I did that, my hair would be matted. That's the biggest piece. It
Same,
would be
yeah.
matted. So when I get my hair, like at night, I'll section it in like either 2 ponytails, like 2 puff balls, or I'll do 4. Like if I do a twist out and I want my curls to last longer, I'll do 4 ponytails. You'll hear people sometimes talk about a pineapple. It's where you put all your hair up to the front. To me, when I do that, it don't be given enough. So I do the ponytails and then I put a bonnet on, and
Okay.
that's what works. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also just learning your own hair, if I'm being honest, though, because even how like
Yeah.
Dr. Jen saying how that works for her, somebody with the exact hair texture could try that and it still might not work for them. So I think
Good
just
point.
you have to like learn it. But that was a
Yeah.
good question.
I know my hair, but I just am lazy. So, like, in full transparency, I could do my hair. I know how to do
Yeah,
hair,
you do.
but it's just the thought
Maybe
of
at
it.
least
I think
help.
it drives me like mentally where I'm like, I see why people get perms.
Maybe at least try like with a silk. Do you have a silk pillowcase? Maybe at least try with that if you're gonna be lazy.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, y'all. Wait a
Still
minute.
don't work.
Myra just ended. She just said something. You try to slide that in. You say you thinking about getting a perm. Is that what you
Oh
said?
no, I would never get a perm. I said I see why people consider getting perms. I would never in my y'all, as I've mentioned my mom previous times on this podcast, I've been raised where that is just not what perms and relaxes are not what you do. Like I've been taught my mom has talked to me about that since I was like 4. So no, I'm absolutely not. But I see why people consider it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Whatever works for you. Whatever floats your boat.
Well, do we feel good to go ahead and jump into our podcast episode, y'all?
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do
Okay. So
this.
today with Dr. Jen, we're going to be talking about conflict with family members. And I was thinking about this, and I've been in so many conversations about how we see the word conflict as such a negative connotation. And so I just want to have like an open conversation first on how we view the word conflict because I personally don't see it as like a negative word. So I'm curious for y'all how y'all see the word conflict.
You know, I'll say for me, it's been growth because my mom was super conflict avoidant. And we didn't say the word conflict, but anytime there started to be any grappling or difference of opinion, she shut it down immediately. So I think myself and other people, we don't even really know the word conflict because we don't even get to entertain anything around it. And so for me, as I've gotten older, I'm 45, I look at conflict in a way of like it's just part of life. Like you can't have different people and there not be grappling over topics. It's how now we engage and treat each other. But for me, it's a normalcy of life. And whenever people will kind of proudly say, I've been in this relationship and we'd never fight. And I'm like, yeah, you have T minus 10 days because that fight's about to happen. You can't have people who are completely different and there's never conflict. That is impossible. Someone is being silenced in some way. So for me, conflict is just, it's a normal part of the day, a part of having people around you.
Danica, what about you? How do you see the word conflict?
Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, where I am now, right? I think about it differently. Where yeah, I think it's like it's a such thing as like healthy conflict as well. And so which all has to do with communication. So now me present, I recognize that. I definitely think growing up, in general, yeah, definitely my family. I feel like that's a lot of times why Black families don't talk about anything because they don't want to have unhealthy conflict, which is then like it can get to fighting. It can get to, um, I don't want to talk to you forever, just off a conversation, yelling at each other, and
Mm-hmm.
insults. And so
Yep.
I think growing up, conflict was like, yeah, that means basically don't talk about a problem. Don't talk about the problems because you don't want conflict. But now, I mean, if y'all listen and my friends, Marva, you definitely know if I have a problem, I'm going to say something.
Yes, yes. I totally agree with you. Like my family is the same way, but it's so interesting how I had to transition from private to public school because the transition of the way that kids approach things is very different in that they taught me how to address conflict. Like I still struggle with it, of course, like in different relationships, but those kids played no games when it came to any issue that they had. And so
Mm,
I think about that all the time, how you can learn one thing at home, but you can learn something so different
yep.
in public school. That's why I talk so much about the public school system and just like all the different types of people it brings together. Like I'm very thankful for that experience. So
Mm.
yeah.
And thinking of this, Dr. Jen, how did you land in your focus being around conflict?
It's actually a very fascinating story. So, I was a former college volleyball coach for about 15 years, and I moved to North Carolina in 2012. And I think this is kind of a part of your friends can see something in you that you don't even see yourself. And so, an older friend slash mentor was taking a certificate course in peace and conflict studies in maybe like 2016 or so. And I remember her being like, you would be really perfect for this course. You should look into the degree. And I was like, me? Conflict? Peace? What? And I took it and I probably like a semester before I was supposed to graduate, I actually changed programs because it wasn't as interesting. But I went through about a year and a half of it. And then fast forward in 2022, I'm starting to see the landscape of what's occurring within DEI, and I was just kind of like, okay, let me start thinking ahead. And I started paying attention to the facilitations, to the workshops I was doing, what was going on, and said, okay, this might be an area that people aren't really digging into as much as they should or can. And I just said, A, I'm looking at society and what's going on. And then B, I think that this is a really good opportunity to do a pivot and to start really developing expertise in another topic. And lastly, it's also because to me, conflict, if we can be better at conflict, we'll be better humans. We are really, really bad at conflict. We're bad at how we engage. We're bad at how we deal with it. We're bad. We don't have skills. And so my goal is to help 1 million people have a better relationship with conflict. If I help you have a better relationship, that means you will be able to then have a better relationship with your parents, family, friends, siblings, spouses, whatever it is. And so I got into it in kind of a roundabout way. But for me, like, it's my jam. I love doing hard things. I like helping people through shame and guilt. And I saw that this was a really big opportunity to help people in a different way that many people don't think about.
Yeah, I'm super, super happy to hear. I think you might be, yeah, like the first person we've had on the podcast even talk about like going into a field just surrounding how to deal with conflict. So
Hmm.
I think this is really great awareness. And going into it a little bit more, what have you noticed that has been difficult for Black women in particular to set boundaries with family members?
Because for so long, we have to be the strong only ones. We have to be the ones who do everything. We have to be the ones to put everything on our back. And that's become, in a very weird way, our claim to fame, right? Of like what we can do, what we can tolerate. I think about Thanksgiving's coming up. And the thing I always tell women is you don't have to make Thanksgiving dinner. You don't have to. You don't have to host it at your house. You don't have to do that. And so many women are taught that that's the way it is. So they're exhausted from work. They spend the week of Thanksgiving cooking, cleaning, putting right their house together, putting all the tables up, and they're not getting that much help. And then Thanksgiving comes and they're up, right? The day before making all the meals and all of that stuff. And then the day of, they're up and they're cooking and, oh, I just love cooking. And they don't get a break or any respite. And for me, it's like, you don't have to do that. You can literally say, I am making the turkey and that is it. And if we don't have sides, because y'all don't bring sides, then all we're having is turkey. But folks are afraid to make that line in the sand, that boundary. So instead, they know some of their family members won't bring stuff. So instead of them saying, well, that's just how it is, they're like, no, I'll just make this side and that side. And before they've known, they've made 15 different things. And we don't really understand or even think about the type of family pressure that people put on us. And what I mean by family pressure is I might tell Myra, I'm not going to make 3 sides. And then Danica calls, no, you have to make my favorite side. You have to make this. You have to make that. No, you have to. And then we have all these people pressuring us to do it. And then we feel bad. Well, I only see them once every year and they really like this. So I'll just do it. And then they're exhausted and Monday comes and they have had no rest because the family pressure. And that's the thing about it is that Black women have to be able to say no. They have to be okay if there's no mac and cheese. Well, Uncle Sam said he'd make it and he didn't. That's not on me, right? They have to know that those things are going to happen and be okay with the fallout. And Black women don't want to deal with the fallout. They always want to be the strong one. And so they put all of that pressure on them consistently. And so for me, that's like what I say is like, you don't have to make Thanksgiving dinner. You don't have to host it. Yes, people will be mad. Yes, your friends and family will be upset. Yes, people will be pressuring you. Lock that door and go somewhere or have it catered, right? Have it catered. But like we gotta stop feeling like we have to be the pack mule of the family.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely relevant, right, to the holidays, like you're saying, with everything coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Um and you know, a lot of this sometimes it can be easier said than done, but if you could give some tips on how to even start with this type of boundary or this type of thinking, what would you say?
Yeah, I think the thing we have to acknowledge is that it's simple but not easy, right? And understand that what I'm saying is simple in theory and it's not easy. And so many times people will say, "Well, you make it sound like it's easy." I'm not. I'm saying it simply, but it's not easy. And we have to get out of our head things are going to be easy. Like we have to. It's not going to happen.
Mm.
And so some tips I would give is A, start this conversation early. It's unfair to people if you say it the Sunday before Thanksgiving. Start this conversation early, months in advance. Hey, I just want to let you know, I'm okay hosting Thanksgiving dinner at my house, but I work till this day. I do this and this, and I'm gonna need some people to help me put the chairs out. I will. I'll need people to do this, this, and this. And you're gonna have to remind people, especially if you've done it all the time. Is hey, I'm gonna need some help. I'm only making turkey, so who's bringing what? I just want to remind you, I'm only making turkey. And you have to understand that people are habitual line steppers. People are going to be like, oh, I know, but before you've still made this, this, and this. I am not. And you have to be okay that there's going to be some fallout and some people that are mad. Like you, and it sucks, but you have to be. You that's where you start to build your tolerance. Is understand I've given people numerous months of prep time. I've told them, I've explained it. There's a Excel spreadsheet with all the stuff. I have done all that. And if Uncle Sam didn't bring the mashed potatoes, and if Barbara didn't bring the mac and cheese, and if the seats aren't out, I can't do that. And sometimes people have to fall on their face, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want it to happen with families or anything, right? So we know that the people who are going to help us put the chairs out weren't here Tuesday. So what do we do all day Wednesday? Well, I just might as well do it all myself. No, don't do it. Black families are always late. When they get there on Thursday, guess what their asses is going to be doing? Putting out tables and chairs. Like, y'all forgot. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm not. Because what will happen? They'll come in Thursday and be like, why aren't the tables and chairs out? What happened? Y'all forgot. So I guess y'all going to have to start doing it now. It's hard. It's ugly. And you have to train people. You have to train
Mhm.
people.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. This is how you honor a boundary, right? Like my therapist says to me all the time that a boundary is an expectation that you vocalize. Like you can't
Yeah.
have an expectation that nobody is aware of if you never
Mm-hmm.
vocalize it. So this is a literal prime example right here that Dr. Jen just shared. But I feel like there's this cancel culture, like even within family. And what I mean by that is oftentimes you'll hear people say, like, they piss me off, so I'm cutting them off, I'm done with them, whatever, however you want to approach it. Do you think it's more beneficial for our times or more easy for folks to avoid difficult emotions slash experiences? Like, what do you feel? How am I trying to ask this question? I guess, do you feel like it's more beneficial to cut people off versus like having a conversation? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I think it depends on the person, how important the relationship with you. Have you ever vocalized it? Do they know? So, Myra, kind of going back to what you said, there's a phrase, it's like undiscussed expectations breed resentment. How many
Mm,
times have people not expressed anything, but they're pissed that it didn't happen? And that's what could happen is that I don't express to people I need help with the seats. I just expect they'll come and do it. And then when they don't do it, I'm pissed off. Well, you never told anyone. And then what's the old say? Well, I shouldn't have to tell anyone, blah, 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 blah. Well, you kind of do with some stuff. Like some stuff you have to say it. And we just assume everyone's always going to know. And then we are bitter and resentful that they don't know or didn't do it. And so going back to what you asked is that sometimes, for me, I'm a Gemini, right? I bring scissors all the time. Like, and as a 45-year-old, I've gotten to understand myself better. Like, how important is a relationship? Have we had the conversation before? Like, there's a lot of context to it. And I think sometimes in families, people don't have the conversation and they're cutting people off. But then also in families, we just don't have any skill set about these type of topics, right? We have no skills of how to manage them, what to do. And so because we don't have any skills, when it happens, the kind of, right, the freeze or fawn or flee, we just flee and we don't talk to people because it's really hard to have hard conversations. And especially if you know people and you're more worried about the reaction you've seen them have with other people than the reaction that they'll have with you. And so it's all of those things. And for me, there are some people where I'm like, the relationship didn't matter that much. And there are other people where I'm like, no, this relationship means a lot. And even though I'm pissed off, right? Like there's a phrase I like to say, and I heard it. It says, conflict shows us the depth of our relationships. And to me, like sometimes I don't really care, I hate to say, about the relationship. Like, okay. And there's some where I need to have the conversation because this relationship is really, really important to me. And me not having the conversation is hurting the relationship.
I like that, Dr. Jen. I want to say that I've had a few different experiences with conflict, and something that you're making me think of is how I've had conflict with some friends where I cared so much about the relationship, where when we had the conflict, it made me realize I care more about them as a person to go ahead and end the relationship. And
There
so,
you
like,
go.
even thinking, I'll go into it thinking, like, oh, I really care about this friendship. Like, I want to work things out. And then after having the conflict, I'm like, actually, we're better off apart because I care about you so much. So that was like, you were saying to me, like, through all these different like relationships in my life as you were just sharing, you were saying conflict shows us the depth of our relationship. That's a very powerful statement.
And can I also say that, like, we also have to acknowledge that time helps. Sometimes you have a conflict with a friend and you need the time apart. Like, I think about my best friend. We had a
Mm-hmm.
really big blow up in 2019 and we didn't talk to each other. Like, we didn't. And then in June of 2020, my mom passed away and she sent me a note. And I will tell you, Jenna 5 years ago would not have sent a note. Okay, like, your mom died. And for her to care that much about me, and she even said in the note, she said, like, had I known the address of the funeral, I would have sent flowers. And that meant a lot to me. And that told me that this is a relationship I should rekindle and have in my life. Because someone who's willing to do that,
Yes.
right? We haven't talked in, I mean, months, and you're willing to do that? That to me is someone I want to re-engage. And there's other people, like I had a person that um we like had been talking and she said, she's like, well, I feel like you're getting distant. I'm like, I'm not. I said, like, here are all these instances where like we've talked. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, and honestly, I've been having to rebuild my life with the changing topics, with my tech company. Like, I've had to rebuild my life. And her response to me was, um, you should have answered the phone, and that's a decision you made. And I said, okay, then that's not someone I want in my life. If I'm telling you I'm rebuilding my life after I've supported you through cancer and all of these things, and then I tell you I'm rebuilding, and your response is, you should have answered the phone. You made that decision. I said, okay, I don't need that in my life. Like, right, like, so you get to
Nope.
decide the friendships and the importance and all of that. And sometimes conflict will show you that this is a person you actually want in your life. Sometimes conflict will be like, I don't need it, right? But like, you get to make those decisions. I think sometimes we don't think about that. Sometimes you might have a year apart and it might be like, maybe I need to reach out and talk to them. I have a friend of mine who read my
Yeah.
book and he said, what you wrote made me think about the falling out I had with my aunt and reach back out to her. And that made me really, really happy that it helped someone in that aspect. And like, conflict is ugly, it's messy, and you have to figure out the way to do it with the people you really want in your life because it's going to happen. It will.
For sure. Yeah. Wow. In thinking about like the work that you've done, or that you're also doing, and in thinking about your life, right? There's so many conversations that are rooted in conflict and also considering the cultural part of things. Do you feel like this has had an impact on you at all, and how so?
Mm. I think that this work has fundamentally changed me as a human in all ways possible. My mom had 5 kids by the time she was 25 and then adopted me. And I think about how sometimes we don't give our parents empathy from how they were raised or what they dealt with. And I think about my mom, I'm half black and half white, and the white side of my family raised me. And I think about her parents and how patriarchal they were, right? It was like the dad who ruled with the iron fist and the submissive wife and how she grew up with that. And then she got married at 18, didn't have her high school degree, had 5 kids, had a cheating husband, all of that, got divorced. Like, she didn't have any skills at all. And sometimes we see the parents we have and don't think about the human experiences that created them, and in some ways did not give them any skills. And it's not to excuse them. It's not to excuse them. But now I look at my mom, I'm like, how hard could that have been to have 5 kids by the time she's 25? And she didn't have time to build skills. And sometimes we see how our grandparents interact with our parents and we're like, God damn, that's how you had to deal with that. And so it's given me more empathy for people like in my life. And it's really changed how I engage in relationships. I try and be more a truth teller of how I feel. Upset, angry, pissed, whatever it is. Like, I try and do that, have the conversations, because I think so many women, especially Black women, because of our fear of being called lazy or aggressive, that we don't say the thing. Or we try and make it so palatable that we don't say the thing. And so for me, now you call me aggressive, okay, baby, that's a normal Tuesday. Like, okay. Like, I'm still going to say the thing. And so I don't allow the words to be used against me as a weapon, because that's what a lot of the words are. If I call you aggressive, you're not going to say it in a certain way. If I call you selfish, you're going to give everything. If I call you lazy, you're going to work yourself to the bone, right? If I call you all these words without explicit um, behaviors or explicit examples, you're going to, in your mind, be like, I have to prove I'm not. So when people call me aggressive, okay, girl, that's all you got? And like, I don't allow those words to have an effect on me, because people will just say them to try and get you to do what they want. And so that's what I see with a lot of Black women, is that you have to be okay with people using these words. Okay. And keep it moving. And so it has, this work has fundamentally changed, like I said, who I am, how I engaged. But also is not to say I won't nuck and buck. I will. But I understand
Hold on now.
when I am nucking and bucking. I understand myself better when the flavor comes out. I know that. I'm not the passive one. I still will, but I am more attuned with myself when I'm getting to that level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that right there is a takeaway in general of understanding, having some awareness, being confident in your attributes and how you show up, not letting words affect you. But in thinking of a takeaway, if there anything else that you would like for the audience to be left with.
Yeah, you deserve whole relationships, and a part of being in a whole relationship means conflicts there. Like, that's a part of the beauty of whole relationships, and people bringing their whole self there to you, is that they know they can tell you they're mad, upset, pissed off, whatever it is, and you are able to take that. Because I think sometimes people are afraid to bring their whole selves, because, well, if I say this, I might hurt someone's feelings. If I say this, and they tiptoe. And I think the one beautiful thing is where people can bring their whole self to you and know it's not going to be a slight, but you're going to work together because you understand bring your whole self means that there's going to be grappling or conflict.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jen, for joining us for an
Yeah.
episode of Black Women Healing Podcast. We thank you all for listening. Please listen, like, subscribe, comment on all the platforms. Stay
Yes.
connected with Dr. Jen as well. And we will see you all next Monday.
Bye. Yes.